Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday night. It's lovely to have you guys in for another episode of the Prime Time Show. The new look Prime Time Show at the new time, 7 p.m. Central Time is when we're going to do this damn thing moving forward, and we're happy to have you guys along for the ride. It's an exciting time, I'm sure, to be a Titans fan with this draft ahead. And certainly we're going to talk our way through what the degree of difficulty for the man with the plan. All eyes on Rand Carthon as he tries to get this thing off the mat, tries to get it right, and tries to improve upon your football team's fortunes. So good to have you guys in at the new time. We're happy to have you. We always appreciate when you guys show up and show out for us the way that you do. There is a lot of good stuff that we're going to get to. We're going to talk about the degree of difficulty that Rand Carthon has to do, basically, in this particular draft, given how bleak it's been in the last couple of years. We'll also talk about wild cards that are in this upcoming NFL draft that will make it more interesting. There's going to be a lot of intrigue in this particular draft. We're prepared to see a record-setting amount of players pop off on the offensive side of the ball or come off the board on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a fascinating thing to see if we can eclipse that record-setting number of 19 offensive players taken in the first round. It hasn't happened since 2009, but we very much expect 2024 to be that kind of year. So we'll go through all of these things together and wrap up with a little Sunday Funday, as is the custom. First, we need you guys to share this program around, no matter where you're spending your time with us, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. It's always good when you guys share this broadcast. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share. You can share now to public. That is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to have all kinds of good draft content coming your way. There's going to be a lot of interesting things. You're going to see a lot of different faces and names throughout the course of this. And, you're familiar with Austin and Zach, obviously, with Jack Gentry and with the Tighten Up podcast. I think Austin Huff is going to be a part of the proceedings as well. I know Sam will have some level of involvement. It's going to be a great time for you guys to get all the information that you need about your favorite local professional football team. And, of course, I'm going to be at the facility covering the whole thing for you all weekend long. It's exciting. Chris Alonzo says, Buck an hour earlier, a less sleep-deprived Buck equals a happy Buck. Yes, it is I am happy. I'm very happy about the new time. I'm really appreciative that Austin and Zach accommodated my schedule, because it can be a bit of a slog, and I think you guys can tell when I'm worn out on some of these weeknights when we're trying to get you the best possible show. So for the best possible show, you need the best possible version of me. And while I would acknowledge that many of you contend that the best possible version of me probably does not exist, the best way for us to try and figure it out is to have this an hour earlier for you, so that I can have great effort and great energy, as is the custom. And also I'm excited because finally we have a finish line, right? I was joking last week at some point, and I can't remember whether it was on primetime or on radio, or because, I'm talking too much in too many different places. But I can't remember exactly where I said it. I want to say it was primetime. Just the idea that I would like, a part of me would like a couple extra weeks of the offseason, because there's just so many players that I'm not going to have the opportunity to be able to research properly before we get this thing underway. You get through the top names and the top prospects. You get through every day one and day two potential player for sure. But day three is a bear, right? And there's so many other players that I feel like I have a knowledge gap about, but that's okay. That's why I have Greg Cosell to help supplement the knowledge. And the Titans radio crew like Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis, who have been very helpful to me and will be on the radio show this week to inform you about all their great coverage that Titans Radio is going to be doing. So we feel like we're in a good spot, but I'm in a good mood this week because it's the finish line, right? To get the draft under our belts, to be able to talk about the actual players themselves as opposed to all these different hypotheticals, everybody's different mock drafts, which is fine. It's a part of the process, and certainly it can kill some time, but we're not looking to kill time anymore. We're looking to sink our teeth into some actual players, names, faces, uniform numbers that will be participating for this football team moving forward, so that we can, have better analysis and talk about things more concretely. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this thing started. I've rambled on long enough to start the show, and we're so grateful to have you guys here on this Sunday night. Let's do it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Zen Sports. Look at that. Even the sponsors got new looks. Zen Sports, up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. That is what they offer you. Terms and conditions do apply. ATOZTN is the promo code you need to bet on all your favorite major sports. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, the South's most trusted Ford dealership, is Two Rivers Ford. They will go above and beyond to put you in position to succeed. Nobody treats customers better than Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They are the best in the business at Two Rivers Ford. And of course, True Math Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated at truemathfitness.com. They are there to put you in position to succeed, to improve upon your workout goals. That's True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Like I said, your first workout is free. By the way, a very happy 32nd birthday to True Math Fitness owner Worth Campbell. Was at his birthday party this weekend. It was a great time had by all. Certainly Worth knows how to throw a party. He also knows how to get you in the best shape that you could possibly want to be in. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. This is a huge draft for Rand Carthon. You guys knew this. You guys knew that the whole reason why your football team looks the way that it does is because there has been degrees of mismanagement. There were degrees of mismanagement from John Robinson at the end of his tenure here for his best efforts, for his best. I don't think that John was, I know that John wasn't actively trying to undermine anything, but in failing as spectacularly as he and his staff at the time did to try and continue to keep this thing afloat, to try and find ways to continue the level of competitiveness that Amy Adams Strunk now expects from her franchise. As controlling owner, he failed pretty spectacularly in that effort. 3 straight drafts where you come away with really only Roger McCreary to date. Maybe Traylon Burks takes a huge step in this is already going to be year 3 for Traylon Burks. Maybe NPF with the benefit of Bill Callahan, father of new head coach Brian Callahan, will be salvageable and better than salvageable. Might even turn into a starting NFL lineman at this point, which would alleviate some of the tackle concerns that you have, at least at the right tackle. But right now, that 3rd round pick has done nothing but prove that he's a depth player at best. We talk about Radens and Caleb Farley, guys who, as 1st and 2nd round picks, or I guess as 2nd and 1st round picks respectively, have done, I don't want to say nothing in the case of Radens, because Radens has been asked to play a lot and has had to play a lot out of necessity. But unfortunately, the results have been mixed at best and really poor overall on Dylan Radens. I think that for a 2nd round pick, especially a tackle, you should have higher expectations. What you have gotten from Dylan Radens to date has been spectacularly underwhelming. To his credit, it's not for a lack of effort. We'll see how much better he can get under a new coaching staff. We'll see how much all of these players can get better under a new coaching staff. But for example, the 2020 draft class is already gone. That's 4 years ago, not even 4 years ago. It will be 4 years ago as of next week. Those guys should be still in some form or fashion, either, on their 2nd contract with the team or have turned into viable, if not starters, depth players. None of those players are even on the roster. We know 2021, how poorly that has fared so far. Monty Rice is already off the team. Caleb Farley and Dylan Radens, we've talked about this. Elijah Molden's still here, but also in a contract year, trying to carve out a role for himself. Guys like Rashad Weaver trying to improve upon their situation. And then 2022, the book is still out on them technically, but with Willis, with Burks, with Phillips, with Chig, with NPF, I guess the best player out of that group, for sure, the best player that you feel out of, or the best feeling that you have on a player out of that group is McCreary, who is a legitimate starting player. But guys, they've had 11 picks in the top 100 over the course of those last 3 drafts, as we talked about before. And McCreary is the only one that's turned into a feasible, into a feasible NFL starter. And even then, it's not like Roger is good. Roger is solid. Roger is available. He's willing. He's versatile. He can play multiple positions for you in a pinch, but it's not like Roger McCreary is great as a 2nd-round pick. He's not any kind of a lockdown corner. And, I think that as a nickel guy, he's really, really solid, really, really sound. I'm bullish on Roger McCreary and his potential future here, but that's only because they've brought in L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie this offseason to try and fortify that back end, because otherwise it's just Roger McCreary shrugging his shoulders and saying, woof, what am I going to do here? Well, Amani Hooker's back there too, but I'm talking specifically about the corner spot. J Bulls 615 says 1 out of 11, that's trash. And listen, that's the reason why people lost their jobs. You don't want to see anybody fired necessarily, but that level of negligence and neglect for a roster puts it in the place now where this thing is outright rotting, and you want the improvement to start. The improvement has already started, and listen, early returns on Rand's draft class in 2023 feel pretty good. The book is still out on all of those players. There's not one that I think you can say anything definitively about yet. You're cautiously optimistic about Will Levis. You're cautiously optimistic about Peter Skoronski. I think Tajay Spears is probably the one that gives you the best and most concrete, good player on this roster, quality playmaker on this roster to date. But Wiley, we'll see what happens with that. Jalen Duncan was a struggle for him, having to play far more football as a 6th-round rookie than he probably should have had to, given the Andre Dillard disaster. And it's not like Rand's resume as the Titans GM has been perfect, right? Because that Dillard contract was gnarly. Not every offseason move that he has made to date has worked, but he's checked all the right boxes this offseason. They've hired a coaching staff that is going to try and elevate the offensive side of things and play a modernized style of football, which I know you probably feel good about. I know you feel good about. Morale around Titans fans is as hopeful as I can remember in quite some time, really since Vrabel took over things, and really even then, not since Vrabel's 2nd season, which is where the tide started to turn, because things looked pretty bad, pretty dire at the start of 2019, as I'm sure I don't have to remind you all. So all of the boxes have been checked for Rand, but this draft is as important, in fact, the most important thing that he will have to overcome. And so we'll start with your Two Rivers Ford take here on this Sunday evening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure is on Titans GM Rand Carthon this week? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll discuss at length together. Scale of 1 to 10. Just give me a number. How much pressure is on Titans GM Rand Carthon this week? We will discuss at length, and you will hear from Rand Carthon right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Two Rivers Ford, as is your Two Rivers Ford take. The South's most trusted Ford dealer is Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles is what they offer you. They are there to put you in the driver's seat as a customer so that you can enjoy the car buying experience from start to finish. Nobody goes above and beyond for their customers the way that Two Rivers Ford has done, and they have done it over the course of 40 years, over 40 years here in Middle Tennessee. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So the scale of 1 to 10, the amount of pressure that is on Rand Carthon heading into this particular draft. Skip, no bones about it. 10, got to get number 7 right. 10, says Jeff Rubel. You guys are putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Rand Carthon, as is your right to do. We've talked about this. They have made they have made some really nice offseason moves, but it's going to be tough to feel good about it without some real teeth in the draft, without some real players of consequence to try and correct this thing, to try and get it in the best possible position to succeed. I know you guys know this. Snead, the trade for Snead is so important, but it's not everything, right? It's a blue chip caliber player for you to add to your defense. Really, I would argue only 2 or 3 blue chip caliber players currently exist on this roster with Jeff Simmons. I think you might be able to make the argument for Lloyd Cushenberry, but that's not a totally, that's not a definitive. He's one of the best centers, if not the best center in football right now. And certainly he's getting compensated as far as guaranteed money goes, like the best center in football. But Jeff and Snead are really the only 2 definitively that you can look at and you can say, all right, these are guys that I know can be all pro caliber players at some point in their career. Snead was an all pro snub last year. Jeff has never been an all pro himself, but certainly has the potential to be. Now with Aaron Donald's retirement, we know that Simmons is he's not the best defensive lineman in football. That title still belongs to Chris Jones. At this point, he is still playing at that kind of a level to make you recognize and respect how good of a player he has been. And I know, between Jeff and Quinnen Williams, there's a couple of different defensive linemen who are vying for that title in the absence of Aaron Donald. But still, the scale, David Brown says Ridley is not a blue chip player. Calvin Ridley has never been, a top 5 wide receiver as far as his tenure in the NFL. At this point, at 29 years old, it's possible that he could have that kind of defining season. You've heard Brian Callahan at owners' meetings talk about the idea of deploying him similarly to Jamar Chase. He's not the player that Jamar Chase is, but Jamar Chase is a blue chip caliber wide receiver, right? Justin Jefferson is a blue chip caliber wide receiver. A.J. Brown is a blue chip caliber wide receiver. Calvin Ridley has always been good and at moments great, but, Calvin Ridley can still be a good player and potentially a great player without being, for example, like peak Julio Jones or even peak Hopkins. Hopkins is not at this point in his career a blue chip player. He's still really, really good, playing at a high level. But I don't know that I could probably make the argument for Cushenberry. I'd probably still leave it with Snead and Jeff as your true blue potential all pro caliber football players, in which I would put them in the category of blue chip for whatever you want to take that to mean. So, seeing all the work that Rand Carthon has done this offseason, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on him. But like I said, he's bought himself a ton of equity with you guys, the fan base, because of the moves like Calvin Ridley, which he's talking about in the clip that we'll play for you now, like adding Calvin Ridley to really up the ante and give this offense some legitimate firepower, the most firepower that they've arguably had since 2019.
And so to actually have the opportunity to even consider him was something that we had a part of our plan, but it was in our mind, really, it was more of a pipe dream. Like, can we afford these guys and get, Ridley? And it initially started with a conversation with myself and Chad. And I won't go into the details of how that conversation started. I'm laughing because Chad's over here and he knows it. But it was one of those things where we agreed to talk the next day. Let's just say it that way. Like, let's just talk about it in the morning. And then it led to a conversation with myself and Callie that same night. And on my drive home, I talked to Miss Amy about it, because, again, we like to keep her in the loop of all things. And so we came in the next morning and everybody kind of had that look like, let's do it, let's try. And we did. And, we were able to pull it off and show you how this world works now. We get the deal done. The deal gets agreed to. So we're in the office, we're having a moment. And, in this particular moment, it was myself, it was Chad, it was Callie, and Nick Holtz. So we're high-fiving and bro-hugging and doing all of that. And so we were like, hey, let's get Calvin on the phone. Let's congratulate him. So we literally, this is all happening within 90 seconds. We call Calvin. we're FaceTiming him, and we're excited, and he's excited.
Right.
And then my phone beeps, and it's Miss Amy. And I pick up the phone, and I'm like, hello? And she's like, is this true? And I'm like, is what true? And she was like, did we just get Calvin Ridley? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, is it out already? It's been like, I was like, we're on the phone with him right now, congratulating him that we got this done. But it just kind of shows you just the level of our teamwork, and making it happen and getting it done. And like I said before, it's not about me. It's not about Callie. It's not about any one individual in our program. It's just about who gives us the best advantage to get something done that's going to make us better, and that's the route we go.
So that's Rand Carthon speaking a couple of weeks ago after the free agency process. And like I said, Snead, Ridley, Cushenberry, Levis, Skoronski, Spears, Hopkins, all of these things by Rand Carthon, a ton of equity from you guys, but it's not enough. And I'll explain to you what I mean here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the best in the business. That's True Math Fitness in the Gulch, where you can get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. They are always there to push you to reach your fitness goals. Group classes are awesome. They're every day. You can get them in the morning, in the afternoon. TrueMav is there to work with your schedule. And if you can't find time to make one of their group fitness classes, they will work with you and for you on personal training. And if you want to work out on your own schedule and not have to worry about any of those things, they've got the best facility in downtown Nashville for you to get your workout in no matter what time, with their great facility and their great equipment and their awesome staff. TrueMathFitness.com is where you can go check out their membership options and also sign up for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. TrueMathFitness.com. Scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure is on Rand Carthon heading into this second draft? I don't want to say that I treat this like his first draft, because he was the general manager of the football team last year. But we all understand that the circumstances, as having been reported on by our friends Diana Ursini and Joe Rexroad, that the circumstances with Carthon and Mike Vrabel, it probably wasn't as much freedom to do the job that Rand wanted to do, or do it the way that Rand wanted to do it, with Vrabel and the issues that they were having trying to work through the idea of personnel control and how much Mike did or did not have, how much Mike wanted and was not able to get, how much Mike kind of imposed himself on the situation, because, as you know, we all know, Mike Vrabel can be a very imposing figure when he wants to be. So I really do, to some extent, treat this as Rand's first real draft to be able to get this done. Not that he doesn't deserve or should not get credit for Levis or Skoronski or Spears, or, we'll see what happens with Wiley or Duncan or Dow, if anything can be done with those particular players. But at this point, this is the most important draft that the Titans have had, I would argue, in a decade of them trying to put together and field competitive football teams. Rand Carthon is tasked with doing not just the job of getting this thing back to competitiveness, but he has an owner who has tasted a postseason run and liked the way that it felt, liked the attention, liked the finances, the revenue that a deep postseason run can generate, is building a new stadium, which is the crowning achievement for an NFL ownership group, to be able to get not just the biggest amount of state funding, state subsidies that an NFL stadium has ever had in the process of building this. And of course, she's contributing plenty of her own finances as well. The ownership group is putting in, I think, north of $700 million as far as their own financial investment in their stadium. The city of Nashville, the visitors, the tourism taxes that have been upped around here, hotel and motel taxes to capitalize on Nashville's tourism economy to help pay for the stadium. Of course, the state of Tennessee going in with $500 million worth of bonds as well. It's a huge thing for Amy Adams Strunk. She wants the product to be and feel big time. Nashville is in such a Nashville is a city beyond just the Titans. Let's expand this out even further. Nashville is in such an incredible period in its history, in its timeline, because of the growth. We are turning into one of the most viable cities, most attractive cities in the country to move to bring your business to have an entertainment venue in, for example. In an entertainment city, a world-class entertainment city like Nashville, Tennessee is, sports has always taken a back seat because the sports teams here, there are no championships here in Nashville. Beyond Vanderbilt baseball and I believe women's bowling has titles in their history as well. But on a pro sports level, the Preds have never won a Stanley Cup. The Sounds have never won anything as far as a championship in minor league baseball goes. And the Titans, of course, famously came up 1 yard short in their Super Bowl appearance and have not been able to get back to that particular game since then. Amy is in legacy building mode. And so she wants a product, she wants a team that can help her build upon her legacy, help establish her family's relevance in the history of this city as the city continues to scale. This is something that brings so much pressure with it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure is on Rand Carthon to get this draft class right? I'm a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, right? Just like the meme. Rand Carthon has to nail this draft to continue to make this product viable. And the pressure doesn't stop even if he gets this right, because there's pressure on them to get the Will Levis situation right. They've hired a coaching staff. They think they can do it. But none of this will matter if you continue the futility of not last year's draft, but the previous 3 to 2023, where you are coming away with almost no roster benefit in 3 straight draft classes that you're still trying to dig yourself a hole out of. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, the level of pressure on this man. To date, he has checked all the right boxes. You guys feel good about where you're at with Rand Carthon, as you should. I think he has earned that. But none of it will matter if you can't get this draft right. And almost more than getting the draft right, I really think it has to be, if not the 2019 class with Simmons and A.J. Brown and David Long and those kind of players, it has to be something pretty close. Sam Cardenas disagrees with me. He says, no pressure. It's a rebuild to win a Super Bowl, and it takes a few years because of the setbacks of prior management. No, that shit doesn't work that way in today's NFL, okay? You've got, at any given point, a 3-year timeline to get your job, to show meaningful progress in getting the job done of competing for championships. And guess what, kids? It's already the start of year 2 for Rand. This is not a multiple-year process anymore. I think coaches should not get more than 3 years as far as showing meaningful progress to continue to continue to aspire to championships. I think Mike Vrabel earned his 6 years here in Tennessee, and ultimately he was not able to earn any more than 6 years in Tennessee because the thing went to shit. John Robinson earned his extension here in Tennessee and was not ultimately able to do that. Rand Carthon is starting to make steps, has started to make progress, potentially has the quarterback in place, but we don't know definitively if Will Levis is the franchise quarterback. We think that we are optimistic about it. I think most people are cautiously optimistic about it, but everywhere else in the football consuming world, they're looking around at him, shrugging their shoulders and say, all right, at this point, he's just a poor man's Josh Allen, a little more YOLO than he is quarterback. And can you get that ironed out to get a more refined and viable product? This man started 9 games last year. He was 3-6 in them. You need to be better, even if the product around it was really, really poor. Missed drafts hurt this team majorly. Yes, Sam, I absolutely acknowledge that. But also, Amy, missed drafts didn't buy Mike Vrabel any extra time. And the Vrabel situation is unique because he did try and, he tried to influence the situation more than he should have and was not, I think, respectful enough of the person that was employing him in the way that he went about it. So, of course, there's always going to be some poor feelings when a circumstance goes down that way. But that's not it. The rebuild started like you have already started the rebuild. The rebuild was already underway, right? When you started to bottom out in 2022, the rebuild was already underway. They've probably tried to keep this thing on the tracks of competitiveness longer than they should have. I will always advocate for teams trying to compete in any given year. I don't believe in tanking. I think it's garbage. I think it's trash. But the lifespan of a coach and a general manager has never been shorter than it is right now. And I think that's okay because there's too many young and upcoming talents in the personnel evaluation, in the coaching world, for you to not have that kind of pressure on you. I think it's 3 years to show legit results. And last year's results were 6-11. So the pressure is really on 2024. We will see if they win between 7 and 9 games this year. I will continue. And Levis, makes strides, right? They can't limp to 7 wins or 6 wins or 8 wins, and you come away feeling like, oh, the offense doesn't look right. Levis isn't really it. The defense may be better than we expected. Maybe you steal a couple games here and there because of special teams or whatever. But there has to be legit progress from the quarterback. There has to be an increase in the win total. You have to actually vie for a wild card spot. I'm not saying that they have to compete for the division outright in 2024. But it has to be the Texans' trajectory, right? The Texans went from worst to first in a season. In an offseason and a season, they went from worst to first. That happens all the time in the league. The Titans finished worst last year in their division, 4th of 4. I'm not saying they have to flip this thing entirely to first, but you should be able to compete for a wild card the year after you bottom out. I don't think that anybody should be providing any additional excuses or any extra time in this industry when, the leash on players is the rope on players has always been super short. I think we should have that same energy for coaches and for general managers as well. That's where we're at with things. All right, let's move on. Since it is draft week, the first round will be in 4 days from now. It's pretty crazy. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right around the corner. Which is the biggest wild card team picking ahead of the Titans right now? So in the first 6 picks, as you look at the draft order, and I'll read for you the entirety of the draft order right now, so you can know, if you don't already, which 6 teams are ahead of the Tennessee Titans. Of these 6 teams currently slated to pick ahead of the Titans at 7, which is the biggest wild card to you? The Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Cardinals, and Chargers, the Giants at 6. Of those 6 clubs, Bears, Commanders, Pats, Cardinals, Chargers, and Giants, which is the biggest wild card to you? We will talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the best place for you to wager on all your favorite major sports. That's Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action in the Zen Sports app. No matter what you are wagering, you can get in on their same game parlays, on their no danger first wager, up to $1,000 with unlimited 5% cash back. Zen Sports is there to help you. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus and in Tennessee to bet. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. That's zensports.com. Promo code ATOZTN. So who's the biggest wild card in the first 6 picks of the draft? Jill Morris says Chargers. A lot of love for the Chargers in the middle of all this. Eddie agrees the Bears aren't taking a wild card. We all know that they're taking Williams. That's fair. Caleb Williams and the Bears are as foregone a conclusion, it seems, as Joe Alt is to the Titans, though we'll see if somebody doesn't get a wild hair for the best left tackle prospect in this draft class. I'm not seeing a lot of love for anybody but the Chargers, except from 2 people, from Bork Borkington, who says the Patriots, and from Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio, who I asked this very same question to on Friday when we had Mac on the radio show, and he also acknowledged that the Patriots are the biggest wildcard team ahead of the Titans right now. Hey, Mac.
Hey, Buck. Yeah, I missed our visits since you've been doing some of your social events. But anyway, that event that you guys are going to have on May the 3rd should be absolutely tremendous. That thing should be sold out. If it's not, people need to get tickets because that's a pretty good get after a draft to have a NFL general manager there.
Well, that and with Greg Mack, I'm just, it's just like our visits with you. I'm going to do as much as humanly possible to just shut up and get out of the way of the smart football people and let them do the talking.
Well, it's for your leukemia lymphoma campaign too, right? I mean, that to me is a huge, huge thing, and that's so good. So as I say, right now, what I can say is, if it's not sold out, it needs to get sold out pretty quick.
I'm pretty sure it's there. I'm hesitant to keep plugging it because I know we were teetering on a sellout as of this morning, but just in case, go check it out. Check it out at 1045thezone.com. Of course, before the draft and during the draft and even after the draft on Saturday with Titans Radio's expanded 3-day coverage here in 2024, you can hear Coach Mack, Ramon Foster, Amy Wells, Rhett Bryan, and of course the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, breaking it down. You can also hear the great draft previews that they've been doing on the OTP. Mac, I've so enjoyed those sessions that you guys have put together, not just because, Mike asks you different questions than I might or Brent might or whomever you're doing interviews with over the course of this, but just to hear how much you enjoy the process of scouting is always fun, and it really comes through well on the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's always fun to do. Ashley Farrell produces that thing, and she left some of the outtakes in there, which are absolutely great. We Rhett and I both, we take this very, very seriously. We're not making, as I said, and I said it, on that OTP, I've made picks for 31 years. I know what it is to do it. I'm evaluating these guys now, not to make a pick, but just to be able to give some information to our listeners when they're listening. Plus, I love doing it. It helps me in broadcasting too, because I now know who these players are, because the Titans, we're only going to get a certain amount of them, right? But you're going to be playing against most of them that always come through the draft. And so it helps me in the broadcasting during the season too. So it's all beneficial, but this is my 39th draft, and I never get tired of it.
The official Titans podcast is where you can check that out wherever you get your podcast. They also post the video portions of that at TennesseeTitans.com.
And Coach, y'all are getting into front 7 players from the Pitt State Gorillas on the official Titans podcast. That's how in-depth it gets.
I just wanted to let Mike Keith know that I'd been working during the draft process. I just wanted to let him know that I haven't just been taking information off of other people's websites, just to let him know that. And you know what? He impressed me because he knew that the Gorillas were the mascot of Pitt State. That's really what I wanted to get out of it. And then clearly with the outtake, we got much more.
So that's Coach Dave McGinnis previewing a little bit of the draft, but we went into more detail later on in the interview, and Mac expanded on the Patriots and why they are the wild card here. Because there is the draft and there is the quarterback draft. The Patriots at 3 are the first opportunity where it might be a quarterback and it might not. And that, of course, will cause the domino effect that will directly affect the Titans 3 picks later at 7 overall. Let's wrap up with a little Sunday Funday here on the Primetime program. Appreciate you guys showing up and showing out early as you do. By the way, we mentioned in that Mac interview that the Rand Carthon live show, the show that I'm doing with Rand Carthon, the Titans GM, with Greg Cosell of NFL Films, it's sold out. So I hope that you guys got your tickets if you wanted them. I'm so sorry if you were not able to get tickets and waited longer to get the tickets. Hopefully you'll take me at my word next year, because we'll do it again next year, to get the tickets right when they go on sale, because they were available for more than a month. But unfortunately, we are not going to. Somebody asked me at the end of this if I wanted to move to a bigger venue next year so that we could sell more tickets. I'm like, no, I already sold 300 damn tickets. I'm not doing 300 is enough. I love you guys, but I don't. This doesn't have to turn into a 500 person concert hall or something like that. 300 for a live podcast is kick ass, and I am truly appreciative of you guys buying the tickets and showing up and showing out. And I know Rand's excited. We were texting back and forth about that last week, as I told you. But no, we're not doing it at a bigger venue in the future. We're not selling more tickets. I'm not going to try and live stream this thing or anything else like that. It's fine just the way that it is. It's hard enough to get off the ground the way that it is. But we're pumped for it. And to have the Titans general manager 6 days after he puts together a new draft class, breaking down the tape of those picks exclusively for you with Greg Cosell of NFL Films in a way that you cannot get in any other NFL market, guys. I know I say that, but it's the truth. You're not going to find shit like that anywhere else. Make sure that you're paying attention when we do stuff like that, because there's always always some cool folks who show up at the events no matter what kind of event we're doing. But this is a particularly badass one that I'm really, really proud of. So that's on May the 3rd. We're looking forward to seeing you guys out there. Little less than 2 weeks away. Billy Jones says, next year at Nissan Stadium. No. The Real Cricket says bigger and better, but no, it's enough. I'm tired. Okay. I'm busting my ass for you guys. I know you guys don't think I bust my ass for you on a regular basis, but I'm busting my ass for you guys to make sure that this thing is chef's kiss, kind of perfect. And I don't want it to be any bigger than it already is. It's already a huge undertaking for me every year, but I'm happy to do it because it's so cool, and we have a lot of fun, and also I get to get recklessly drunk afterwards at the after party, which makes me very happy because I'm stressed about it, and to blow off a little steam afterwards is always a great time. The after party at Tin Roof, always a great time. Anyway, so Sunday Funday, what was the best thing you saw this weekend in sports? We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. Game 1 is tonight. See, don't you love this new time? Starting at 7 p.m. Central Time, so that now when the Preds drop the puck at 9 in the first round of the playoffs, you have a whole hour to decompress, to get your pregame ready, to get in your Preds gear, switch your mindset over. Either way, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators is GaryAshton.com. Don't sell without the intel. That's what Gary reminds you, the official real estate agent of not just the Nashville Predators, but of the Primetime program. Absolutely. Lucas says, can we use Bert's OnlyFans to watch the Install Live show? Bert will be there, but I have forbidden him. Either way, I have forbidden him to do anything but sit in a corner and behave very well until the after party, and then he can do all the Bert things that we love him for. Anyway, we appreciate you guys spending some time here with us. Let's do a little Sunday Funday to wrap it up. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? Dallas getting railroaded, says William Jones. He loved to see it. A lot of good sports vibes to come out of this weekend in particular, but the one that I enjoyed, and it's a quick video, it's Jim Harbaugh sticking to his word and getting a Michigan tattoo on his shoulder after winning a national title.
I'm impervious to pain. Of course.
So that's Jim Harbaugh getting a Michigan M tattooed on his, looks like his right shoulder, and then laughing in the background, the new Chargers head coach saying he's impervious to pain. That made me laugh. I appreciate when coaches pay that off. I loved it when Rick Pitino did it after Louisville won the title. Ching Bing says he got that prison tat. It does honestly look like, it looks a little like a prison tat. Maybe he should have gotten the brand like some of those dumb frat boys do every once in a while. There's a lot to like about Jim Harbaugh. I think he's a bit of a kook, but kooks are fun. We need some more crazy people in the football news cycle. And Jim Harbaugh being back in the NFL is going to be a lot of fun for everybody. If he wins a title for the Chargers, he should get a full body tat. Should get Justin Herbert in one of those like prayer candle visages tattooed on his back if he can pull off a championship with the Chargers, which is just a godforsaken franchise. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you. Real Cricket says, Buck getting a Titans tat if they win a Super Bowl. No, under no circumstances. There is no way, shape, or form that you could talk me into getting anything Titans related tattooed on my body. No, there's just, even if I was a fan of the team, I don't think that I could do it. That's not true. If Indiana won a title, I would get a tattoo. Absolutely, I would get a tattoo. But that's my team. It's like the Titans for you guys. If the Titans win a championship, you should get a tattoo. If Indiana wins a March Madness for once, for the first time since 1987, then I'll get an IU tattoo. But no, I'm not getting a tattoo of your team tattooed on my body if they win a title. All right. Have a great rest of your evening. Radio show tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Ramon Foster is on the Titans radio draft coverage. He's going to break down the offensive linemen with us, and we'll get this thing started in earnest. Make sure you like the video on the way out the door if you're hanging out on YouTube, and come hang out with us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone, and I will see you guys then.
Ready?